Everybody's going to wait for a little bit to get some people on here. And I'll tweet this out here that I'm going live. There it goes. Get this out so people can see it. And desktop. All right, so I'll wait a little bit for people to come online here. Just taking a look at the satellite imagery here. You can see our atmospheric river coming up. Hey, everybody. Brandon, Kevin, Phyllis. How's it going? 9:38 p.m. January 10th, live chat. Now you can see that first system moving up here, going to bring some breezy conditions at Vancouver Island and Washington Coast just for a bit. Then we have the warm front of the next cyclone that's coming in here on the heels of that one. A bit interconnected. Jonathan, hello. Cordog T, hello. Brandon, hello. Shoreline, Washington. Yeah, the winter that will never wants to end here. Atmospheric river after atmospheric river mixed in with some snow and wind. Oh, Kevin, thank you, Kevin. Very much appreciated. Kevin Moore, ladies and gentlemen. I'll slow this one down a little bit here. So we're just now starting that atmospheric river event. And it's a good one. It's moderate to strong, but it's probably going to hit some areas on Vancouver Island and the Olympic Peninsula really hard, and potentially some areas of the Cascades might get some pretty nasty precip totals with this too. And especially with the snowmelt, you never know how the snowpack's going to respond to such an atmospheric river slamming into it. A lot of times it will. I mean, it's going to absorb some of this, but how much melting will go on? The freezing level is going to go pretty high, so it's kind of concerning just as to how much will melt, because it's not just the snowpack at higher elevations. It's that mid-range snowpack at 2,000 and 3,000 feet. How much is that going to melt? Hi, everybody. Oh, it's Brecky from one of my coworkers is on here. How's it going? Yeah, I'm feeling much better. I took a home test. It said negative, and it wasn't too bad when I was sick. I was just concerned about going back into work and spreading it to a bunch of people. So, Skylar Hernandez, we got a member in the house here. Just got home from work. So did I. All right, share the weather news. So what is this? Is this no? I'm a little bit out in the future here. I'm gonna go back and rewind this a bit. So this is right now. You guys can see these gradients from the Queen Charlotte's towards Washington State. These gradients right now are this system right here. So it's got some gradients with it. It's not an overly strong system, but it probably gets some gusts in the 40s in the Washington coast, Vancouver Island there. And there it is right there. Then we've got another one that's going to develop. It's just starting to develop now, and that's going to swing up. And it's warm front, what's really going to hammer the Olympics and parts of Vancouver Island tomorrow. And then it's going to swing up and by. Then we'll have to deal with the frontal passage on that powerful storm too. Oh yeah, Kevin Moore. I work for Alaska Airlines. I'm a flight controller, and I do basically what we do is we're forecasting for aircraft. We talk to pilots, we do flight plans, we make forecasts for individual stations, and we tell the pilots about the weather, and we make sure everything's safe. Previously, I worked for Hawaiian Airlines doing the same thing, and I worked for Island Air in Hawaii doing the same thing. And previous to that, I was a National Weather Service contractor, and I worked at Seattle, Boeing Field, Hillsboro, Oregon, Tonopah, Nevada, Kansas City. So I've got a pretty extensive weather background. 35, 40 gusts on Whidbey Island, says Jonathan Pulley. Yeah, it's a fun job. I'm always trying to recruit people to come work for Alaska Airlines. It's a great place to work, and we're actively hiring people, and Horizon Airlines and Alaska Airlines now work in similar areas. So I'm always trying to get people into that line of work. Bustery on the Dungeness Spit on the Olympic Peninsula. Do I know Jeff Jackson? It doesn't ring a bell. Hello, everybody joining in here. Yeah, above freezing. Yeah, do you guys see all the potholes in the roads recently with that 5 out of 6 days below freezing there? It really did a number on some of the roads around here. We had some pretty good potholes. Looks like they fixed some of them, but man, there were some 6 to 12 inch potholes going on there. No, you do not need a meteorological degree. It helps definitely. The airlines love to see a weather background. You do have to have an FAA license to be a flight controller. Yeah, it's airlines. We can use more weather minds at airlines. It's a high impact job, and you need a lot of different skills. You got to be able to work with people, and you've got to be able to work with your coworkers, and you've got to be able to talk to pilots, and just depends on where you work for the airline. But doing flight control, yeah, it's great to have a weather background, and it's great to know how an airline works. Yeah, major potholes. And Kyle Gustav, yeah, I guess that freezing must have just done a number on the roads around here. I don't know. And I guess we had a lot of rain too that probably didn't help. And then it went to freezing and kind of went above freezing, then back below, and a lot of snowfall. Yeah, I can imagine driving that much, having to deal with those potholes. It's pretty hectic. So let's take a look at, so this is kind of where we are. This is tomorrow morning now, just kind of kicking off the atmospheric river, and then it picks up tomorrow morning pretty good. This is Tuesday at 10 a.m. and you can see we have 3, 6, 9, 12 hours of some really heavy rain coming for the Olympic Peninsula, and you can see that seeping into the Puget Sound area. Look at then interior up towards Bellingham and the Skookumchuck are going to be getting some pretty good rain too. I hope that doesn't hang out there long. And man, the Olympics just get dumped on. I mean, it's just an incredible amount of precip coming. And you see that warm front, you see the cyclone out over here, and the warm front stretching into western Washington there, really bullseyeing it. And then it kind of lifts a bit. And then we go through the frontal passage behind that system as it weakens and moves inland there. And then we should get a break. Maybe we're going to get a dry weekend out of this, which would be nice. And we can really start to wring out. Yeah, I heard about that. Snoqualmie Pass had 4 inches solid ice below that snow in a lot of places. I mean, man, some of those areas, they just had to burrow a tunnel basically along the highway just to get started. Michael Pitt has a 14-year-old doing weather for the Navy, couldn't do calculus and wound up getting, yeah, GIS those are some nice jobs in there too. Geographic Information Systems. I was actually going to do that first until I went back into ATC, air traffic control, and then eventually flight control, aircraft dispatch. Stephen White has 32 inches of snow in Rockport, Washington. All right, Wendell, hope you're enjoying this channel. Nice. Yeah, how is it? Kevin Morris talked about the Oregon Cascades. Do you guys have a lot of snow down there currently? The current snowpack, how is that doing? Here I'm running the North American model, and look at this bullseye on the Olympics. I mean, this is Wednesday evening there, about 7:10. Here we are into Thursday early morning. I mean, we're looking at some 9+ inch bullseyes there on the higher terrain. Look at Hoquiam on this, over 5 inches of rain. I mean, some of those areas just got really blasted already. So this is Thursday. I mean, Thursday night, the rivers are just going to be raging off the Olympics in small streams, and hopefully this doesn't trigger landslides. Looks like Bellingham is going to end up with about 1.8 inches. Seattle less in this version of the NAM here. Yeah, and you can see Vancouver Island where, there's lesser people out there, but still, I'm sure there's people with interest that live out there. And you can see the Cascades doing pretty good here too, especially about I-90 northward there, and you can see that extend up through the British Columbia interior. And the recent model runs have been showing the Oregon coastal range actually getting in on the action here too, over an inch of rain for them and down to the Cascades of Oregon, but not the torrential flooding that looks like central North Cascades are going to get in the Olympic Peninsula there. 122 inches at the lodge. Yeah, that's tough. It becomes that cascade concrete after you go through, you warm it up and then you cool it back down and you get ice layers in there, and really high water content sometimes in the Oregon Cascades, especially the southern. Yeah, that lake effect snow is pretty wild. I mean, actually, is it still going now? Let's look at it. Here, I'll go down to one screen here and we'll do, I gotta select a radar site there. Yeah, looks like stuff is still going on out here. I mean, let's see what this looks like. Yeah, they can pile up snow pretty quick when you're just stationary under one of those bands out there in the lake effect snows. And if you guys aren't familiar with the lake effect snows, it's basically just cold air moving across this relatively warm water of the lake. It picks up moisture and then it just dumps it as it moves back over the terrain. And eventually at some point the lake will freeze over, and then it kind of ends that lake effect snow for the year. But until then, and if the lake is abnormally warm during a season, it can hold on for a while, like it is now into January. Lake Oswego had a forecast of 3 feet just from squalls. Yeah, I've not seen those personally either. But yeah, you can see how it just kind of train over similar areas a lot of time, depending on the prevailing winds. But anyway, let's check out Langley here. It looks like the rain is starting on the coast already. Yeah, Jonathan Pulley says herd rates were 3 to 5 hours per today. Yeah, that cascade concrete. I remember when I was young and I first heard that term, and I was like, yeah, that's not really that far off. I mean, it goes through some serious melting periods, but it doesn't quite get dissipated, and it's just really heavy, thick snow. Then you pack more powder on top of it, and then you get a different type of snow on top of that, and then you get some melting again and some rain, then a snow again. So avalanches in the Cascades can be bad news. I mean, there's some pretty severe avalanches sometimes. I mean, they had a whole bunch of snow slides onto I-90 and Highway 2 and White Pass recently too. That's what was really giving them a hard time. Yeah, those snow totals out there, Skylar Hernandez, those can get really nuts. And the Cascades, I mean, sometimes we get convergence zones back into the Cascades that do a similar thing. It's just cold air passing over the strait and the Juan de Fuca and Puget Sound and the ocean, and bringing that moisture into the Cascades where it turns into snow. Crystal Mountain, I think they held the 24-hour snow total world record actually for a bit, like with 68 inches of snow. I think it was 1994. And, it's a pretty serious record, especially with the kind of water content our snow is here. I think Colorado broke that by a few inches, but they have much dry, puffier snow, so easier to pile up out there. Mount Baker ski area closing next 2 days. Oddball says his neighbor's trees. Yeah, I mean that's a big thing in Western Washington. You get a lot of, when the wind starts blowing 30 miles an hour and you've got 150-foot pine trees to your south or to your west, it starts getting your attention pretty quick. Jonathan Pulley's going to do some chemistry. Yeah, maybe you can watch the channel and do chemistry at the same time. Yeah, here it is moving in. You can see some of these stronger segments embedded in here. So that's why the rain will be varying in intensity. I mean, coolly, it's already going here. Here we go. It's like, looks like some of the models are calling for 5+ inches of rain there. I mean, can you imagine if that was all snow? That would be something else. So yeah, this was the NAM. Let's check the HER. What is the HER saying? I set it to the 0Z run. Tomorrow morning, there's a pretty good bullseye down there, the Willapa Hills too. And you can see it really getting on the Olympic Peninsula there, and Vancouver Island, just big bullseye for the HER. Yeah, there's some 7-inch totals in there on the peninsula and on Vancouver Island. And even down to the coastal range, east of Seaside, Oregon, Tillamook there too. And a lot of the Cascades, the higher terrain, gets some pretty good precip here. Yeah, can you imagine having Arctic air mass with a atmospheric river warm front running into it, and you just happen to be on the north side of those southerly winds where the east winds are still going? You could get a pretty wicked. So Michael Pitt says still trending colder at the end of the month. Let's look at that actually. Let's go. Let's look at teleconnections first. So we want the Pacific North American Oscillation. So this came out this morning, and yeah, I mean, look at that. We're going negative territory there on the European there. And negative, I mean, that big ridging that builds out over, it tends to favor the big ridging out over the Pacific Ocean. That brings us our north flow and potential Arctic air. See the GFS. Oh, the GFS differs a little bit here. But again, this is only till late February. It looked like or late January. Some of the signal was showing early February, but the GFS is kind of, I don't trust it as much as the euro. Let's check the Canadian. Only goes to the 26th. It looks like it's going back down at the end of there. And the European weeklies don't run until tomorrow again. But yeah, there's signals for it. Let's look at the GFS here. Actually, we're going to let's go to COD. And we'll go to GFS. We'll go to North America, and we'll just kind of look at this is 5,000 feet temperature anomalies here. So we're going to go way into the future with the GFS here. And you can see some Arctic air, Northwest Territories, Yukon slides down. Notice it's on the east side of the Rockies, not a threat to us. A little bit built up over BC here, but this is not really a snow scenario for us. But that's an Arctic blast out into the Midwest there. Probably keep that lake effect snow going over the Great Lakes there for sure. And as we go a little bit further into the future, let's see if there's any sign of anything cold coming our way yet. Now we start to see actually some really warm 850s up over the North Canada there. So not on that one. Let's see. Let's look at the CFS. This is more of an extended look at things. And here we'll look at, no, there's not that many options on this site. So we'll just look at 850 temperature here, and we'll go way out into the future in this one. And you can see we've got a ridge out here over the Pacific, but that's way too close. Then it kind of backs up here. Now we're into some more action. Check out this really cold air over British Columbia here. This is late January, but this is more of a snow setup for us. Initially, no, it's probably still rain at that point. No Arctic air into the region yet. But then there, it's honest, but that trajectory is a little wonky. That's not really favorable. It's more like a dry Arctic air intrusion that point. But then look at this. You can see more Arctic air, and this is a more favorable trajectory. Notice how these 850 winds come off of southeast Alaska and back into western Washington, and we would probably have some Arctic air around as it was at this point. So this is a much snowier solution there. That would be, we'd be in business there. That's early February. So yeah, there's still, the signal's still out there. And then you can see it kind of almost change back to another atmospheric river look here with Arctic air entrenched over British Columbia. So yeah, our crazy winter is far from over, guys. There's going to be, I think we're going to flirt with Arctic air again here in early February. I like the signal is there, and just call it a hunch. Yeah, I got the new microphone here. I'm trying to make things better for you guys. Yeah, Highway 20, I guess once they hit a certain threshold on the snow, they don't even plow it anymore, and they just close it down. I suppose if they didn't get much snow, they might just leave it open, but how do I decide which model to go with? Yeah, that's the whole trick to forecasting, is trying to determine which model is best. It's like, certain forecasters have certain favorite models, but they're still trying to line up those models. When you see certain models start to agree with each other, that's when your confidence gets going. Then you're like, okay, we're on to something here. But otherwise, when the GFS is showing something different than the Euro, or the NAM is different from the HER, then you're kind of in limbo. Then you have to start going by, okay, what does climatology say? What do we usually get? You're trying to break things down and base things off of probability versus just picking a model and going with it. You want to try to avoid that. With 200% snowpack, are there any models that track Chinook winds coming? Well, the deal with the Chinook winds is they're usually on the east slopes of the mountains, and the Cascades really don't get too strong of Chinook winds. It's more like a Rockies phenomena, and sometimes you'll just big snow eaters through Montana. They've had some really intense temperature rises based on those Chinook winds. They will just warm the temperature up a huge amount. I think the biggest temperature rise used to be in eastern Montana based on those Chinook winds, actually. So can I show the models in full screen, please? Let's see if I go more like that. Yeah, that's probably better, huh? So you can see the Pacific Northwest there too. Yeah, I moved to a different room here also. And so the echo isn't as prominent, and I've got a microphone that's better. And so, yeah, this is much better. There is a database that shows that. And the European usually performs better than the GFS, but sometimes the GFS does win certain rounds of weather. Jeffrey Sturgeon listens to Cliff Mass weekly blog. Yeah, Cliff Mass is pretty good. I mean, he knows the region really well. He's done numerous scientific journals on the Pacific Northwest, so he knows it really well. He knows the history of the weather that's come through here. He knows what to expect. His book is really good too. A lot of what I've learned has been through Cliff Mass. He's come to my work and talked to me, and I've gone and talked to his class about my job and what I do, and maybe something that his students want to look into in the future. So I like to consider him an acquaintance. I like Cliff. He's a good guy. His weather knowledge is really top notch. Yeah, that's Skylar says Cliff. He just didn't know why I thought the last one would bust. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about being a forecaster. If you don't miss some forecasts, then you're probably not. You probably haven't been forecasting for long. So it happens to everybody eventually. Yeah, sometimes it's easier to say, because typically these snow events, they come and we don't they kind of wiggle their way out of it, or we don't get as much as we thought. And a lot of times that's the case. So a lot of times it is the more accurate assumption to think that we're not going to get snow. So there's something to it. And sometimes you just have to make a call. And I appreciate that more than just, not making a prediction at all too. What's my favorite weather event of all time and why? There's probably would boil down things that I've witnessed would probably be the 1989 February Arctic blast here was really amazing. I mean, the high pressure, the Arctic high that came down was so strong that once it dropped the snow, it didn't even rain in Seattle for like it might have rained 1 or 2 days the entire rest of the month. It was such a powerful Arctic blast. And I can remember the day after the snow had started and the high temperature was 18 degrees. And then a few days after that, we had a low of 7 degrees in Seattle. And I think that's the last time we've been below 10 degrees in Seattle was that February day in 1989. So that was one of my favorite winter events. The inaugural day storm was another favorite of mine. That storm was just so violent that it was, I was at Green River Community College, which is basically a college in trees, and there was trees just falling left and right that's blocking the road, and it was like extremely frightening. Yeah, the Willamette Valley and Puget Sound are not fun to try to forecast. There's so many different variables. Skylar Hernandez has been in 0 in Idaho. Yeah, it's been a while since I've been in that cold of temperatures. I went and chased the Mount Shasta huge blizzard last year. That was pretty intense. I've never seen it snow that hard, even in the Cascades. That was amazing rate of snowfall. Roland Connor, favorite hurricane was Camille, 1969. Yeah, that was Camille was the one that had a pretty high death toll, I think, huh? Yeah, Phyllis, British Columbia has just been the target of some serious extremes. I mean, that brutal cold and just once in a lifetime warm, or at least I hope it's once in a lifetime warmth there in late June. And then the fires and then the flooding. I mean, it's been a really unique year. It's a year that people are going to look back at in the future and just be like, this was the craziest winter of my life. I think people are going to be saying that after this is done. Yeah, my mom has some wild Columbus Day storms too. Scrub J talking about the Columbus Day storm here. Do I recall the February 23rd of snow event? Was that this last year? Or was that 2011? I don't know offhand. I can't remember that one offhand. Probably because I wasn't up there. I was down in Seattle then. Moxie Vintage says, power of Mother Nature is incredibly incredible, especially if we take into account globally for sure. Yeah, the weather's, it's something that changes every day, and it's challenging, and it's data driven, so it's right up my alley. How many years has weather been more extreme rather than following normal? Well, that's the thing. We are warming as a planet, but there is social media now, and everybody's connected. So anytime there's an extreme weather event, you hear about it within minutes, versus back in the day, you didn't hear about it till maybe the next day, if at all, and maybe just a clip in the newspaper, or you'd see it on, like ABC News at night. And now you can just see on Twitter, and you can see like what people are doing in China or Europe or South America or Canada or the East Coast. So it's like an instant feed. And so it enhances your exposure to these extreme events they've always been going on. These extreme events have always been going on. You just, we weren't subject to them all the time. Yeah, I think about that sometimes too. Moxie Vintage says she thinks about what weather is like on all our planets, some wild stuff out there. Like Jupiter and the Great Red Spot. That's a storm that's been raging for over 300 years now, estimated. Flying early next month. So TL Brown's flying Seattle, Honolulu early next month. Will we make it nonstop or we have to refuel on the bay like last year? It's pretty rare that airlines have to fuel stop. It's really rare, actually. So it's most likely you'll just fly straight through. Yeah, Aaron Green mentions, yeah, he had to talk. Yeah, it's true. My mom brings that up too, that she says that, she brings up extreme weather events, but it's most likely that we're in touch with much more information than we used to be. Hello from Lake Cushman. It must be raining out there by now. Okay, let's look at her. Let's look at these flood watches right now. We've got flood watches up for the area. In fact, let's look at the coast here. What do they mention in here now? Yeah, they talk about low-lying and flood-prone locations. I think they're going to start nailing down some of these totals here coming up. They'll be highlighting some certain rivers as they go here. So snow levels rising up to 5,000 feet tonight and 65 to 8,000 feet Wednesday. Yeah, that is no bueno. That is not good. Olympics in the 5 to 10 inch range. North Cascades 3 to 5, 2 to 4 central and southern Cascades. Atmospheric river will lift north of the area late Wednesday. So things will probably be peaking in the rivers on Thursday. Yeah, the newspapers were our main format hearing what the weather was like. And sometimes you'd hear a snippet on like NBC News or something like that. It was just, but it was like, 3 or 4 basic channels back then. And you had like a local channel and a local weather person that, would have to pick and choose what they talked about every day. Maybe I do remember something about that 2011 event, but I just can't remember much of it. February 23rd, 2011. It is ringing kind of a bell now that you're saying that. See what it says for the Cascades, or if they put out that similar warning for them too. Yeah, 8,000 feet. That's way up there. I mean, hopefully we're not going to get too much runoff on that. Yeah, and we have to look at the river forecast. I mean, that'll probably be for tomorrow. The river forecast will have a better idea of what's going on, but it's potential severe flooding coming up here. Let's look at the winds really quick here too. So this is the HER. Let me look at their most recent. For Zulu, anything coming in tonight? There's some gusty stuff. If you're on Nia Bay or anybody out on La Push right now or anything, you're probably gusting close to up towards 50 miles an hour or something if you're out there. Quileute getting towards 40. Higher terrain mostly, maybe some gusty winds up by Bellingham, but nothing too out of the ordinary. It almost looks like a Chinook wind event actually out here off the east slopes of the Rockies tomorrow. Check that out. And there's a way we could find that out too. There's surface winds at 13Z that go on to 22. So let's check the surface temperature at 13Z. Yeah, you can see it. So if we look out over here at the Rockies here, you can see it's, lower 30s. And then you see those winds pick up and kind of warm that area up there into the 40s. It's not a super strong, but it looks like some actually up towards 50 there. Just a downsloping effect. Just watch it eat that cold air right there. Yeah, I can remember having to look in encyclopedias when I was younger for everything. I mean, we go get the newspaper and save the clippings and put them in scrapbooks. Yeah, thanks, Brecky. Thanks for that. Awesome. Yeah, that super sticker. Wonder if I can change those to like weather emojis. Those are pretty good. Yeah, we're just in the infancy of weather forecasting, really. Like Carl Fisher brings up a good point. For the 60s, it was weather reports, and well into the 70s before there were forecasts. We didn't know what even caused tornadoes back just 100 years ago was just really a huge mystery, and we couldn't really forecast it. We kind of knew what brought the conditions, warm, humid air, but we had no idea really what was going on above the surface. And we kind of knew what time of year they occurred, but things like tornadoes. I mean, what a mystery that we've actually started to get a decent handle on. But in the next 100 years, we'll probably know much more about them. We'll probably be pinpointing many tornadoes within a few minutes of their formation, I assume, within the next 50 to 100 years. So Kevin Moore asked, just because I'm a layman to weather, what causes gusting winds? So it's basically just a pressure gradient that's going on. I mean, if we look at the wind gust here, what's going on when you see like this wind off the coast here? It's basically just an area of colder air that's moving off the north part of Vancouver Island there, and there's warmer air here, and it's just trying to balance that out. It is the most basic explanation for it. That's basically what all weather is just differential heating of the planet, and then the planet spins and it's balancing that out. That cold air will tend to sink down towards the equator, and then the warm air tries to go towards the poles, and it's just a big balancing act. Yeah, and then so when the wind is blowing, it goes from high pressure to low pressure, just as if you were to put if you were to push down on a column of water, it would spread out. So that's higher pressure, and it would spread out away from that high pressure. And then you take into account terrain and the Coriolis effect and geostrophic winds and pressure gradient, and then you can determine which direction the wind is actually going to blow and how strong it will blow. Will forecasting snow ever become easier in the microclimated Pacific Northwest? Well, yes, it will. But there's some limiting factors that still happen now. When you put in, we're limited by our observations in a lot of cases. So when you're putting garbage in, you get garbage out. If our observations are not good and they're too spread out and we're kind of guesstimating conditions in between, then a lot of times you're going to miss those little micro features, which still happens to this day. Even though it's much better than it was 20 years ago, all these small scale features, if we could get all that data into a supercomputer and have the computing power to run it, things would become more accurate. But it's a huge deal to try to get accurate observations, especially up to the minute. And then gathering all that data and having it in certain programs and trying to put that into something that we can use is a really difficult project. Let me show you something here. So the UW has the best resolution model in the area here, and I'll show you what I mean here. Let's go to, it's 1.33 kilometer, and I'll just go ahead and show you just how high resolution this model is here. And you can see, so it's trying to pick up these actual temperatures at a really fine detail here. And it does, sometimes it does really good. It's still in the works. I mean, there's a lot of improvement to be had, but you can see the resolution on this. I mean, you can see the individual terrain features on the Olympic Mountains here and the gaps for Highway 2 and I-90 and the Puget Sound lowlands here. And I think wind might actually show this a little bit better. Let me do wind speeds. Oh, no, we're too far out. So let's do, we want Puget Sound here. So wind gusts, we'll do Puget Sound. Let that load for a minute. And you can really see some of the detail, like on the Olympic Mountains here for some of these gusts. And you can see how it really picks up good detail, like up here, Whidbey Island, some of these gusts over 35 knots. It picks out the terrain features better. You know, it speeds things up over the water versus the terrain. So, yeah, I mean, people are working on it. We're trying to get better detail on these forecasts. I love how Cliff utilizes the U of W. Yeah, Cliff Mass, you know, he's all over these models. He's always using these in his blogs and whatnot. Is the blob still hanging off our coast? No, that's actually, it would actually colder than normal out there. I think that I can actually, here, let's try to see if I can find, gosh, I'm drawing a blank here as to where to look. Let me look at, I can't remember how to look up the, here, I'll do tropical tidbit C. Tropical tidbits C, sir. There we go. Ocean analysis, here we go. So here's the anomalies right here. You can see that we're much colder in the Gulf of Alaska all the way down here. And this is because of that recent, you know, we had the huge bomb cyclones really stirring up the water here. So it's been like this for a few months now. But yeah, the blob was just a very abnormal, extremely warm area of the Pacific Ocean out here, and that would hang out for months at a time. Several years ago, it was a really big deal. Yeah, Jonathan Poley talks about the Euro, the UW, WRF, GFS, and the HER. Yeah, I could live just on those three models probably too, even though I like to look at the NAM 3KM and the GFS at times also. But yeah, the blob keeps things warm, man. It's hard, makes it tough for snow to get in here. But even then, if you have the blob and you get the right trajectory, you can still get snow in here, especially if the Arctic air is cold enough. But you can see the La Nina signature going on here. La Nina basically means the trade winds are stronger than normal, and this pulls air, the wind pulls the water away from the coast of South America there, and you get upwelling off the coast of South America, and it's colder. And then by default, you kind of build warmer water up off of the coast of Asia here. So hope that helps. Yep, no more blob. Blob is dead for now. Yeah, Moxie Vintage mentions a dome of warmer air over Portland. Yeah, that tends to happen over a lot of cities too. I mean, that urban heat dome effect. Especially when you know, downtown Seattle, there can be most areas around getting snow in downtown, and it can just be melting as it hits the streets down there. It's hard to get snow in downtown Seattle. Yeah, you can see this thing marching in. Hopefully, I mean, maybe this warm front will go north a little bit quicker than we think it will, and it'll spare the Olympics. But even if that happens, it's going to target somewhere else. I mean, that maybe it would just target the Fraser River Valley and Bellingham and BC again or something. You know, it's really tough because all Western Washington now has really seen some extreme totals, and we know that British Columbia has too. They had really extreme flooding in the past couple months. So it's too bad Oregon just can't take this one. Take one for the team, Oregon. I don't think that's going to happen though. But I know Oregon's got still burn scars and stuff there, so it wouldn't be good for them either. So Roland Connor asks when my next update is, and I'll do one tomorrow morning. So I'll just go over new rainfall totals. We'll check out the atmospheric river. We'll look at, I'll pin down some better details on what's coming in the future there for possibly into early February. Models keep showing some hints at it, but it's pure fantasy right now. It's just kind of something to look at and talk about. It's just entertainment at this point. But as soon as it becomes something more likely, then, I'll be chirping about it and I'll be talking about it even in more detail. But right now it's still just, it's at the point where if I woke up tomorrow and you saw the signals not there, you wouldn't be surprised. Hopefully get some more Willamette Valley snow. Yep, the kids love it. And yeah, I'm always down for more snow in Seattle. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I love it. Yeah, Kevin asked, how do I have time to do this on top of my usual gig? Yeah, I just worked for a while and I came home, played with the kids for a little bit, and come down to do a live stream just because, we got this atmospheric river rolling in here. So I just wanted to kind of see what you guys thought. And I enjoy doing it. I'm going to try to do this at least twice a week, the live chats, just so we can chat and keep everything going. The page is doing pretty good. And I think that once the word of mouth about this gets out more, that this will probably become a big deal in the Pacific Northwest. And, I'll be able to get more information out and we can get the weather awareness up pretty good. If I could meet any weather related person, who would you meet? Well, I've met Cliff Mass. When I was younger, Jeff Renner was one of my idols. Maybe I'd meet him, or maybe Jim Cantori or something to that effect. Yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for the appreciation. What do you talk about during the summer half of the year? So, thunderstorms. Roland Connor asked, what do you talk about during the summer half of the year? So I talk about thunderstorms, and I'll probably branch out a little bit too. So if we have something going on in British Columbia and Oregon or California, Nevada, Idaho, I'll probably branch out. If something's not happening in Western Washington and it's 58 degrees and then we just got low clouds, I'll probably branch out to some other areas and look around and talk about what's coming in the future. But during the summer, dust devils are really fun. I love dust devils. I never imagined it would be so fun. I grew up around here and I would drive through Eastern Washington. I'd see a dust devil and I'd be like, oh, it's cool. But actually going out to the fields where they're happening during good conditions was really fun. It's almost as fun as actually storm chasing in the Midwest. And I'll probably talk about some severe weather going on in the Midwest if we're slow here also. But Pacific Northwest will always come first though. Yeah, thanks for the kind words, Nicholas Goodman. Michael Pitt. Yeah, I put out that poll and people seemed like they wanted a change. And so I just thought maybe Weather Watch would be better, just since I do some chasing, but it's not the primary goal of the channel. It's more weather education and just getting everybody on the same page, something they can look forward to, and just increasing weather awareness. Jeff Renner is not friendly. I've never met him, so I wouldn't know. Willard Scott, yeah. Yeah, Skylar Hernandez says, can't wait for summer. Yeah, there's stuff to look at then too. Like one of my favorite weather phenomena is the marine push, where if we get like 2 days of 90 plus degree days in Western Washington or Western Oregon or British Columbia, and then that thermal low moves into Eastern Washington and we just get that huge blast of marine air. And so one day is 90 and the next day is 65. And it's just an amazingly awesome phenomena. You're just hot and your house is really hot and you can't take it anymore. And then you feel that wind start to blow at night and the marine push is coming. It's just like this free air conditioning. It's blasting into the region. I love that part. And I love the meteorology behind it too. The thermal low and how it shifts inland, and the high pressure from the Pacific Ocean shifts over Western Washington and Oregon. And it's really fun to watch that happen. Yeah, Kevin Frieda says, everyone like, subscribe, and share on your socials. Boost the signal. Yeah, Skylar Hernandez says she wants to chase dust devils. Yeah, they can't really hurt. Well, I guess they could hurt you. Some of them are pretty strong over there, but there you can stay out of the way of them. It's not like chasing a tornado or anything. But yeah, dust devils are so much fun because they pop up left and right, and I bring the kids out there, and they're really good at spotting them, so it's handy to have them in the back of the car. And then they're popping up, and I'm trying to fly a drone into them. It's really fun. Marine air, yeah, marine pushes are so nice. So Birch Bay, can I talk briefly about what happened in Birch Bay last Friday? What happened in Birch Bay last Friday? Can somebody remind me? Steve Poole, Larry Schick, and Rich Marriott are great people. Yeah, I've talked to Steve Poole before. I've never met Larry Schick and Rich Marriott. My wife actually works for the Army Corps of Engineers, and she gets briefings from Larry Schick. Yeah, Kevin Moore talks about more extreme weather we get, the faster the channel will grow. Yeah, that's true. I mean, it grew really fast during the snowstorm, and now it seems to kind of plateaued, but it's still doing well, and it's not really that. I mean, atmospheric rivers are fun, but they're not as fun as big windstorms or a big snowstorm or, a heat wave or thunderstorms. So yeah, I think that it'll get the word out. Word will get out more as these more extreme events come around too. Born in North Seattle, 1960. So Dan Marceau probably remembers that winter of 68 and 69. Marine layers are beneficial except when they're on the coast where it's just thick fog all day, every day when the onshore. Yeah. Yeah, it kind of keeps the sun off you, but it's good for vampires, I guess, that marine layer out on the coast. Yeah, tomatoes need heat, that's for sure. Oh yeah, so the king tides, yeah. So and when you have the king tide, you have the new moon and the sun are kind of lined up, and you get these high tides, and then you get any kind of wind, and it even pushes that water even more up on the coastal areas, and you get some pretty bad flooding for sure. And lower pressure can also enhance that flooding also. Lower the pressure is, the higher the sea level will rise. Larry Schick taught a meteorology class at South Seattle Community College. Oh, that's nice. I didn't know about that. Yeah, Mount St. Helens. Yeah, I can't imagine if something like that happened, like a big mudslide off of Rainier or Mount St. Helens eruption or a big earthquake around here. Because there's so many more people here now. Yeah, thanks, Nicholas Goodman. Thanks for sharing the channel. Yeah, David Korchamy says he heard that next year will be El Nino, and I mean, it's looking after two La Ninas. Historically, we've gone into a neutral or an El Nino year after, so we're gonna have a set of different, weather phenomena for next summer if it is an El Nino year. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I'd like to do the live streams just to keep in touch and get everybody involved. Climate Prediction Center has winter 2023 as neutral, not yeah. It could be either, but it's probably a little more likely that it would be a neutral year. Did I go over our chances already in beginning of February? I went over a little bit, and some of the models still show that, so we're still looking at the signal there. I was just talking about how it's not a guarantee, and it's something that if I woke up tomorrow and the signal was gone, I wouldn't be totally surprised. It's because it's just pure fantasy right now. It's just something we're looking forward to. But I mean, it is back-to-back La Nina year, and we've had really good Februarys recently. So, it's a chance. And I have a hunch we're not done with our winter yet in the Pacific Northwest as far as snow. I think we're going to flirt with Arctic air again. Yeah, I get that too. Sometimes I'm the only weather enthusiast around, so people, yeah, they're not always into, they're not always into me talking about the weather. Yeah, I saw that in Vancouver Island. The recent king tides up there in Vancouver Island with that barge that's been just kind of run aground there. It's just one thing after another for this for British Columbia, Washington, and Oregon this year. Ray Ramsey. I don't remember Ray Ramsey. That's interesting. Harry Wappler was awesome though. Yeah, Harry Wappler was my favorite Cairo 7. He was one of the best. Yeah, thanks for all the love for the page. Yeah, the Wappler Doppler. Yep. Yeah, I mean that was there. It was Como, King 5, and Cairo, and then there was Channel 13 also. All right, good luck, Moxie. Thanks for being a member. Yeah, if you guys want to join up, there's that join button. You guys can become members. Yeah, that's right. You guys up north of Seattle even got some snow last year too. Seattle really missed out last winter. Will member up. Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, anything to help support the channel would be great. It will make me, the more followers I get, the more subscribers and likes and people becoming members, the more apt I am to be able to do this more often. And yeah, I plan on continuing to do this. Yeah, Shannon O'Donnell's good. She does that dogcast thing for the UW too. Roland Connor, Shannon O'Donnell. Yeah, she's nice. So let's look and see if anything else is coming in here. Let's check. Yeah, look at the wrap. This is a rapid refresh model. I mean, some of these totals are just nutty. That's probably 8 inches there for the Olympics, over 8 inches for the 7.5. Just over an inch, so inch and a quarter for Seattle. A little bit higher totals for Bellingham. Hopefully they don't get it too bad up there in the Fraser River Valley again in the higher terrain, because man, they just got walloped a couple months ago up there. It was really bad in November for Whatcom County up there. Ray Ramsey preceded Steve Poole. I was probably just starting to watch more TV at that age. Mark Steeds, member Mark Steeds, welcome. I don't remember Mark Ramsey doing the weather, but I was just young then, so I remember Steve Poole very well. And I can remember 1985 November snowstorm, but that must have been just when Steve Poole was starting. Will that much rain melt consolidated snow very quickly? Yeah, a lot of that rain is going to get caught up in the snowpack that falls. Because there's a pretty good snowpack in the Olympics and the interior mountains there. A lot of that's going to get in there, but there's going to be some melting. And it just depends on how that works out. If there's a lot of melting and that rain gets through that snowpack, then it could be really ugly for some local area rivers here. Doing some snow camping this week and in the Santiam Pass area. So far, it's looking to be in the low 40s and no rain. Cascade concrete. That's for sure. I mean, I remember going snowboarding up there on that stuff, and you go on a cold night after it freezes, and it's almost like snowboarding on cement, literally. Yeah, thanks, Brecky. She has a good video of a dust devil in Eastern Washington. Yeah, I've got some good dust devil footage now too. I'm going to put together like a big master dust devil video. That's something that's really fun in the summer. I mean, I was shocked at how fun it was. I was like, okay, I'm going to go look at dust devils one time and see what it's like. And I was like hooked. After I went one time, I was hooked on the dust devil. It was so fun. Yeah, it will warm up there. It's Oh yeah, that's something to look at too. Here, let's look at that. Let's go surface temperature and look at what we're dealing with here on the wrap. So check it out. I mean, all through the Puget Sound, we're up into the 40s here. This is tomorrow morning. And look at just through the Cascades. We're virtually above freezing almost everywhere except the highest peaks. And then it cools back down Wednesday night for the mountains, but then stays pretty warm. You can see there's going to be some melting going on in this higher terrain. Look at Seattle, 50 degrees. I mean, get out the swim trunks. Get some people down to Alki and do some swimming. Yeah, I'd like to go down to Nevada and look at dust devils too. I heard Utah has good ones. Arizona's got some pretty decent ones. I think Eastern Washington's one of the best places though too, because you know, they don't get that monsoon moisture much over there and it stays pretty dry. And I think it's probably a really good area for dust. I mean, what I saw last year, they were amazing. So rain is intensifying in Port Angeles. Yeah, I should do that. Kevin Morris has set up a Dropbox for us to upload our videos of weather so you can use for some cool compilation. Yeah, that'd be fun because we could do like a year end. I was going to do a year end video here too on everything I did, all the storm chasing I did and all the video I shot this year, including the snow from last year, and just put it into a video and maybe put some music to it and put it out. Maybe I'll make that a yearly thing. Yeah, that's a good idea. Phyllis Berry, here's the snowplow going on the highway. But yeah, check out these temperatures. I mean, 51 in Seattle. That's nuts. Some areas still below freezing in the higher terrain, but yeah, that's not good there. Tuesday afternoon, check it out. There, a lot of interior BC is above freezing. Puget Sound, Cascades, Eastern Washington. So there's be some pretty good runoff going. It looks like there's going to be a lot of melting in any coastal range snowfall that was falling too. Yeah, this weekend might look dry. That's another good point. Let's bring out that one. Let's go GFS. Let's just go to the GFS here, and we'll just kind of look at what's coming up here for the weekend. Yeah, that's a good one. So you can see this is the warm front from the atmospheric river coming up here, and you can see that low that's kind of moved up into Vancouver Island. And still the atmospheric river goes on. Here comes the next storm here. And then we have to go through the cold front on the bent back occlusion here. Cold front, bent back occlusion. Thursday afternoon might not be too bad. Looks like we've got some sunny skies possible. Friday, high clouds and maybe breaking out late. Well, look at that. Saturday we might get a sunny day. Fingers crossed. There's some high clouds offshore, but they're not making much headway inland. Sunday, wow, could you imagine if we get Saturday and Sunday sunny days? That would be something else. That would be great. Let's look at surface temperature. I mean, it's not going to be hot, but mid 40s is just fine if you're getting sunshine, especially in the middle of the winter. Saturday, upper 40s. Look at that, Portland 52. Go down on the Oregon coast there, southern Oregon coast. You get up over 60 degrees. So yeah, we're definitely going to be putting some of that Cascade concrete into action here. We're going to, it's just barely below freezing there. Brecky says she got to see the king tides last week in Edmonds. Nice. Yeah, I could see him down on Three Tree Point from my house, and the waves were really crashing up over the roads and stuff. Rain picking up in downtown Seattle, says Evan Elliott. Tyler Peterson, thanks for the kind words. Yeah, the Seattle weather discussion is always good to read. It's a little bit technical sometimes, and they don't elaborate on things much sometimes, but it's a good source. Are the landslide so Viva asks, are the landslide risks on the North Olympic Peninsula after this next rainfall unusually strong? Yeah, I mean, I hope there's not something like the Oso mudslide of 2014 waiting for us here after this next atmospheric river, because we're going to be really high on the landslide index after this moves through, especially for, some of these slopes on the higher terrain. And it's just really anybody's guess as to where a lot of these will happen. You can look at where the heaviest precip falls and make estimations on that, but otherwise, yeah, the landslide risk is really high because we're over 200% our normal precipitation for a lot of areas, and then we're putting another atmospheric river precipitation on top of that. There's potential for some pretty severe landslides. So Mailan Shalev asks what an omega block is. Let me show you a diagram of that. And we'll look at some images here. Basically, let's see if we can get a omega block. So it looks like you have two lows on either side of a high pressure and mild in between. So it depends on where you would set up. If there's an omega block over the middle of the country here, you can see we've got a bit of a cutoff low here. So this storm wouldn't be leaving very quickly. And this is also cut off here because this jet stream is wavy and it's pretty weak, so it's not going to usher these storms through very quickly. A Rex block is here. This was more like what we got in the summer, the extreme heat, this huge ridge that was just focused on top of us. And we brought that high pressure over the interior of British Columbia. And as that flowed back off the Cascades, it sunk and it heated even more. And we had a thermal trough that just sets up off Western Washington. And we had that offshore flow just really warming us up. Yeah, thanks for the kind words, Jason Johnson. Weather nerds unite here. Yeah, region wide, we are definitely saturated, says Dan. Any chance of the passes opening with the rain? Yeah, I mean, this is going to start. Sean O asks about passes. Oh, so I see what you're saying. So the rain can actually bring a bigger slew of problems also. It can enhance snow slides, and it can actually bring avalanches. And especially if you bring it above freezing, it can dislodge some of that snow. And hopefully that doesn't close Stevens again. I know Snoqualmie was open now, the last I heard anyway. But it's such a fine line up there right now. Any snow slide starts and it can easily block the highway again, and you can be stuck for a few hours waiting for them to try to reopen it. Yeah, and with the wind, with the rain, how much rain we've gotten too. If we get set up for a big windstorm at any point this winter, it's going to be really devastating because the trees come down, especially the evergreens, the huge evergreens. We saturate their soil. They come down pretty easily. And that would not be something that we would need right now. Yeah, we should do a Pacific Northwest Weather Enthusiast Convention. Maybe Cliff Mask can set one up at the UW and we can all meet there or something. Oh, so Evan Elliott asked what the snow level will max out at for the atmospheric river, maybe joining here late. So initially about 5,000 feet, but on into Tuesday afternoon, it looks like it's going to be 6,500 to 8,000 feet. So it's probably going to go all the way above the peaks on the Olympics, and it's going to be pretty high for the Cascades too. But the snowmelt will absorb a lot of that rainfall, so that's going to help, we think. But there's still going to be a lot of melt, especially in the lower elevations. The 2,000 to 3,000 foot range is probably going to get a pretty good snow melt here with this next river coming through. And it's always tough to know just how bad it is, really. And I know some areas are going to be bad, but we're just hoping that it's not too bad, where we don't have rivers going into major flood stage. But yeah, it's 10:47 here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll end the live chat here in about 2 minutes, and then I'll probably do one again. You know, I'm going to try to do these at least twice a week, and more as we get more extreme conditions coming in, of course. But Tyler Peterson asks, will low snow levels stay higher in eastern Washington? There's some colder air trapped over there, so it might be some wintry mix for tonight and tomorrow in eastern Washington. But you're probably going to be above freezing this coming weekend, I believe it was. Let's look. This is Saturday, so you're right at freezing, so it might not be too bad. All right, Jonathan Pulley, good night. Good night, everybody. Yeah, so it might not be too bad over there. It looks like it's going to drop down where it's not going to be too far above freezing going into this weekend. So yeah, hope you guys are enjoying these. Click like, subscribe, click join if you like, become a member. I'll keep doing these at least twice a week. I'll be doing my daily briefing again tomorrow morning, and I will see you guys on Twitter too. All right, thanks for the kind words, Ron Dog, and thanks, Kevin Moore. All right, thank you, Phyllis. I will talk to you guys later. Thanks, Nicholas.